Okay, imagine a high-stakes courtroom drama. You've got two massive law firms going head-to-head.
Right.
We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. Now picture this. Both firms, they have the exact same resources.
Identical.
Same access to case law, same army of paralegals, same billable hours. Everything is identical, except for one single variable.
The lawyers.
Exactly, the human element. The lawyers at Firm A are just, well, they're smarter, significantly smarter. They see the patterns faster, they construct more fragile arguments, they spot the loopholes that Firm B completely misses. Who wins the case?
Firm A, every single time. In knowledge work, I mean, when all else is equal, intelligence is the only thing that matters.
It's the ultimate competitive advantage.
It is, right.
And that seems painfully obvious when we talk about humans. You know, we pay the smartest lawyer the most money, we hire the brightest engineer. But today, we're applying that same logic to artificial intelligence. Because according to the stack of reports and research we're diving into, we are hitting a really strange and honestly a kind of unsettling moment.
We really are. We're entering a phase where businesses, they're losing the ability to tell which AI models are actually smarter than the others.
Which just sounds insane, right?
Yeah.
We live in an era of benchmarks. We have charts and leaderboards for everything.
And everything.
But today's deep dive is into something our sources are calling the AI IQ black box. It's this breakdown of traditional intelligence measurement, and it asks a pretty scary question. What happens when the tools we build become smarter than the yardsticks we use to measure them?
It's the classic student surpassing the master problem, but, on a global industrial scale.
So let's unpack this. We've got this black box concept. To really get why this is a crisis, we have to talk about how we measure smarts in the first place. I think most people have a vague idea of IQ tests,
The JERS, the Stanford Binet.
Yeah, we think of them as these objective rulers.
And they are the gold standard, for sure. The Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale. That's the WAIS. It's what most clinical psychologists use. But here's the thing about those tests that people often forget.
What's that?
They were designed for humans. And not just any humans, but for the average human population.
Right, the bell curve. I remember this from stats class. Most people are in the middle, and as you go out to the edges, the tails, there are fewer and fewer people.
Exactly. And that is precisely where the problem starts. These tests, they have a hard statistical limit. They lose their reliability once scores get above 145.
Okay, let's dig into that number.
Yeah.
145, that's what, 3 standard deviations above the mean, roughly?
Roughly, yes. So to validate a test score, to say, yes, this person definitely has an IQ of a 150 or 160, you need a baseline. You need a group of humans who actually score that high to compare against. A control group.
And I'm guessing once you get past 145, the air gets pretty thin up there.
It gets incredibly thin. You simply cannot find a large enough sample size of humans with IQs of 160 or 170 to standardize the test.
Yeah.
So once a score hits 160, the source material puts it pretty bluntly.
Oh, so.
The measurement becomes more guesswork than science.
That is a wild way to put it. So essentially, we have built a ruler that is only, say, 12 inches long. And for a long time, that was fine because we were measuring, I don't know, mice and cats. Nothing was ever longer than 12 inches.
Precisely. The ruler worked because the subjects fit the scale.
But now...
Now, we're trying to measure something that might be 15 inches or 20. We're seeing AI models that are hitting or even exceeding that 145 threshold, and our ruler stops at 145. We literally can't measure how much smarter they are.
It's like trying to weigh a blue whale on a bathroom scale. The scale just screams error or gives you its max, 300 pounds.
Yeah.
The whale is definitely heavier than 300 pounds, but the scale can't tell you if it's 301 pounds or 30 tons.
That is the perfect analogy. And this isn't just theoretical. The sources for this episode really highlight the work of a researcher named Maxim Lott.
Yeah, I found his work fascinating. He's been tracking AI IQ scores using what he calls a game-proof offline test. And I want to pause on that game-proof part. Why is that so important?
Because AI models are, well, they're notorious cheaters. Not intentionally, but they're trained on the internet.
Right.
So if you give an AI a standard IQ test question that's been posted on Reddit or some psychology forum, it hasn't solved the problem, it's just memorized the answer.
It's like giving a student the answer key before the final exam. Of course they're going to get an A.
Exactly. So Lott's game-proof test is crucial because it uses offline questions, puzzles, and logic problems that are not in the training data. She's trying to measure raw intelligence, not just recall.
Okay, so Lot is the guy holding the bathroom scale under the whale. And recently he stumbled upon this massive discrepancy, a real aha moment that proves the system is breaking down.
This is where the data gets really compelling. Let's go back to October 2025. Maxim Lott tests a model called Opus 4.5. On his offline IQ test, it scores a 130.
Which, let's be clear, is very, very high. 130 is gifted territory for a human. That's a very smart person.
It is. Now, to cross-reference that, we have to look at another test. Are you familiar with RCAGI?
The abstraction and reasoning corpus. Yes, Francois Chalet's benchmark. That's the one that's supposed to be impossible to memorize, right?
That's the one.
It's all about fluid intelligence solving novel patterns you have never seen before.
Correct. It is widely considered the hardest test for AI because you can't cheat it with data. So Opus 4.5, the October model, scored 37.6% on ARC-AGI-2.
Okay, let me track this. Opus 4.5, IQ test 130, ARC score 37.6%.
Then comes November 2025. Just 1 month later, we get the upgrade, Opus 4.6. Now, on the ARC-AGI-2 benchmark, that really hard fluid intelligence test, this new model scores 68.8%.
Whoa, that's nearly double.
In 1 month. It's a massive jump. Doubling your score on ARC is like going from a struggling high school math student to a Fields Medal winner in 4 weeks. It implies a radical increase in reasoning.
So, logically, if the fluid intelligence doubled, if the engine got that much more powerful, the IQ score should go through the roof, shouldn't it?
It should.
You'd expect Opus 4.6 to score, I don't know, 150, maybe 160.
You think so. A 30-point jump in ARC should translate to a substantially higher IQ score.
Oh.
But when Lott tested Opus 4.6, it scored 130.
Wait, it scored the exact same number.
The exact same number, 130.
That makes no sense. How can it be twice as smart on the reasoning test but have the same IQ?
Well, it's inconceivable if the tests were working correctly. The ARC-AGI-2 and an IQ test, they measure the same underlying cognitive abilities. If one goes up that dramatically, the other has to follow.
So the fact that the IQ score just flatlined at 130,
It tells us one thing.
the whale broke the scale.
The model hit the ceiling. Lott's methodology has likely begun to fail because the model is smarter than the test can even register. It's the bathroom scale again. It just reads max weight, no matter how much heavier the object gets.
That is genuinely unsettling. It means we're flying blind. We know Opus 4.6 is smarter, but we can't say how much smarter in terms of IQ.
We've lost the ability to quantify it in human terms, and if you think that's bad, the situation's already gotten worse.
Ow.
The source brings up a new contender that makes this even more complicated, Gemini 3.
Oh, right. Specifically Gemini 3 DeepThink. This is fresh data from February 26.
Yes. Now remember how Opus 4.6 caused that glitch with an ARC score of 68.8%.
Yeah, that was the one that broke the IQ correlation.
Gemini 3 DeepThink scored 84.6% on ARC-AGI-2.
84.6%. That is, I mean, if 68% was already breaking the test, what does 84% do? That's not just a step up. That's a different species of intelligence.
That is the big question. We are talking about a score that rivals or even exceeds the very best human experts at pattern matching. The implication is that Gemini 3 has likely already breached that 145 IQ threshold we talked about.
So it's probably well into the territory where human comparison is effectively impossible.
Right. And interestingly, the sources mentioned that Maxim Lott has gone quiet recently. He hasn't been updating the SOTA, the state-of-the-art models list.
The silence speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It's likely because he's realized the current tests are broken. Why publish a leaderboard when the top 3 contestants all score maximum? He's reportedly working on more advanced analyses to solve this, but, he hasn't solved it yet.
So we are in this weird limbo. We have these super intelligent systems, and the guy who tracks their intelligence has basically had to stop because his tools don't work anymore.
That sums it up. We've outpaced our own metrics.
Okay, let's pivot to what this actually means, because I know some listeners might be thinking, who cares? So the robot gets a high score. Good for the robot. Okay. But this isn't just an academic problem. This impacts the real world in a massive way.
It impacts every enterprise that uses knowledge work, which is to say, almost every enterprise.
Let's go back to our law firm example, or let's make it even more specific. Imagine you're the managing partner of a top-tier firm. You handle mergers and acquisitions worth billions. You want to license an AI to do the due diligence.
Right. To read the contracts, spot the liabilities, find the gotchas. This is work where accuracy is everything.
You have 2 options. Vendor A offers an AI and vendor B offers an AI. Both vendors claim their model is super intelligent. Both models score the maximum on the standard IQ tests.
So you, as the buyer, you're looking at two black boxes. You can't distinguish between them using the metrics you understand.
But in reality, under the hood, let's say vendor A's model has an IQ of 145, effectively a very smart human. But vendor B's model, its IQ is 180.
And that difference is profound. An IQ 145 lawyer is great, they'll do a good job,
Mm-hmm.
but an IQ 180 lawyer, they see things no one else sees. They structure the deal in a way that saves you 20% on taxes. They find a loophole in some 1970s precedent that wins the case before it even starts.
The difference between smart and genius is exponential in terms of value. So if the firm cannot tell the difference between the 145 IQ model and the 180 IQ model, they lose their competitive edge.
They might buy the cheaper, dumber model thinking it's good enough and then get absolutely crushed by the competitor who bought the genius.
The source calls this the black box tunnel. I think that imagery is incredibly powerful.
I loved that term.
Break it down for us.
The black box tunnel is this period we have just entered. We know intelligence is increasing. We can feel it. We can see it in the ARC scores. But we can't measure it with practical reliability.
We're driving through a tunnel.
Exactly. We know we're moving forward, maybe even accelerating, but the speedometer is broken. It's stuck at 145 miles per hour. We might be going 200. We might be going 300. We just don't know.
And for businesses, that's a nightmare. Because how do you value something you can't measure?
That is the valuation issue. The AI industry hasn't fully appreciated this yet. Businesses value employees, human or AI, based on relative intelligence. You pay a junior associate X, you pay a senior partner 10X.
Why?
Because a partner has higher judgment, higher reasoning, higher effective intelligence.
But right now, businesses are hesitant. The source says they don't want to rely on indirect, obscure measures like RCAGI2.
Right. I mean, put yourself in the boardroom. If I tell a CEO, this model scores 84.6% on RCAGI2, they're going to look at me blankly.
What does that even mean?
Is it smarter than our current guy? They want the familiarity of IQ. It's a metric they understand. They know what an IQ of 120 means versus a 140. It's the language of human capability.
But as we've established, IQ is no longer working. So the CEO is asking for a broken metric and rejecting the one that actually works because it sounds like technobabble.
Exactly. So business leaders are stuck. They're clinging to a broken ruler because the new rulers feel too abstract. It freezes the market.
It's a bottleneck. We
Yeah.
have the tech, but we don't have the trust because we don't have the ruler.
And until we emerge from this tunnel, enterprises can't make that assessment. They're effectively guessing which tool is better. And in business, guessing is expensive.
So just to recap, because there are a lot of moving parts here, we started with the idea that intelligence is the ultimate competitive advantage.
Right. The fuel for knowledge work.
But we've hit a ceiling. Our traditional human IQ tests, they just break down after a score of 145 because we run out of humans to compare against.
The sample size vanishes, and the test becomes statistical guesswork.
And we know AI is smashing past that limit. We saw it with the glitch in the OPUS scores, where fluid intelligence doubled, but the IQ score stayed stuck at 130.
The test just couldn't register the gain. And now with Gemini 3 putting up ARC numbers that suggest it is well beyond anything we can measure.
Which leads us into this black box tunnel. A time where we have super intelligent tools, but no reliable way for businesses to tell them apart or value them correctly.
Creating a massive efficiency problem, a valuation crisis, and a huge trust gap in the market.
It's wild. We are usually so obsessed with bigger, faster, stronger, but we forgot to build a speedometer that goes past 145.
We built a Formula One car and realized we're trying to clock its speed with a stopwatch from the 1950s.
I love that. And look, hopefully this is temporary. Hopefully Lot or some other brilliant mind solves this bottleneck soon, because as these models get integrated into law, medicine, finance, knowing exactly how smart they are really matters.
It matters immensely. You need to know if the doctor diagnosing you is in the top 1% of intelligence or the top 0.0001%. That distinction, it changes outcomes, it saves lives.
It really does. Which leads me to something I've been thinking about while reviewing all this, something a bit deeper than just the business case.
What's that?
Well, we're talking about this from a perspective of control, right? We want to measure the AI so we know how much to pay for it or which one to hire, but there's a flip side.
Go on.
If we are in this tunnel where we can't tell the difference between smart and super intelligent, we're flying blind. But think about intelligence itself. If you're a novice playing chess against a grandmaster, you can't tell if their move is brilliant or a mistake until the game is over. You lack the cognitive resolution to judge their strategy.
Right. To me, it just looks like they moved tonight.
Yeah.
I don't see the trap they're setting up 5 moves from now.
Exactly. So here's the thought I want to leave everyone with. If we deploy an intelligence that we literally cannot comprehend because we lack the ruler to measure it, how do we know when it makes a mistake?
Ooh, that's chilling.
If an AI with an IQ of 180-something we can't even chart comes up with a legal strategy or a medical treatment that looks wrong to a human with an IQ of 130, is it actually wrong?
Or is it just too smart for us to understand?
We wouldn't know. We physically couldn't know.
Without a valid measurement, without a way to bridge that gap, we have no way to verify it. We are just trusting a system because we know it's smarter, but we don't know by how much or in what ways.
We might be correcting mistakes that are actually strokes of genius.
Or following genius advice that is actually a subtle hallucination we can't detect. We're handing over the keys without knowing if the driver can see the road better than we can,
Right.
or if they're just driving faster and taking shortcuts we don't understand.
Exactly. And until we fix the ruler, until we find a way to map that territory beyond IQ 145, we are just hoping for the best.
On that slightly existential note, thank you for taking this deep dive with us. It's a lot to think about next time you see a new AI model released with some shiny new benchmark score.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you in the next deep dive.